All right, ready?
Yes.
Hello, and welcome back to Belmont Bunch. This week, we are joined by a special guest, Tom Carosa. All right, welcome back. You knew that was coming.
I did.
Yeah. We're joined by a special guest, Isles XCat Twitter account, aka Sterling, a very diehard Isles and Florida Panthers fan. So, welcome, Sterling,
Thank you.
and let's start the show.
I'm here too, James.
Yeah.
Thank you, James, for that magnificent intro. Sterling, really excited that you're here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you became an Islanders fan and how you also became loyal to the Cats, whose jersey I have in the background?
Yeah, of course. So for the beginning, details are not there so much, but I do know it started out around 2010 with my dad bringing me to my first Islanders game. I lived very close to Nassau Coliseum, probably 10 minutes away if I had to estimate, and instantly fell in love with the atmosphere of the arena, the sport in general, and of course the New York Islanders. And then from there, weirdly enough, the details start to go away. I remember some bits of my fandom for the next 5 or so years. I remember a couple of snapshots from going to a playoff game against the Penguins, going to one against the Capitals. Other than that, the details aren't really there for me. But in 2017, I think, I moved to Florida. And weirdly enough, I would say my enthusiasm for the team just massively kicked up compared to living in New York. Can't explain why that's the case. Maybe getting older, maybe, missing Long Island, something like that. But now I watch definitely every game, whereas before I can't say I did that. And along with moving to the South Florida, I had to like the Florida Panthers a little bit just because they're a local team. And of course, that means getting to go to some of the games. You have to like them a little bit. And with time and meeting some more people, started to like the team a bit more. But always the Islanders have been the number one team. And you'll see in my Twitter biography, it's always New York Islanders for life, with the Panthers taking second. So not too dramatic of a story, but that is my tale.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that is actually really interesting. Do you think if you live in Florida for the rest of your life, will the Panthers ever take over?
Definitely not. No, definitely.
How dare
not.
you, James?
I just had to make sure. It was a test.
Yeah.
It was a test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's actually really awesome, because that's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the story of a lot of people that moved away from New York, unless they're Rangers fans.
Yeah.
But having a similar thing, like adopting like their new second favorite team. So what made you start the account? What made you start kind of tweeting?
Yeah. If you follow my Twitter page, you'll notice there's one person I interact with a lot. He is a friend of mine from school. His name is Dylan, and he was always on Twitter a lot. And we went to a couple of games together, and I always noticed him live tweeting from the games. And he kept encouraging me to download the app, and I wasn't too sure, but eventually did it. And definitely, although there may be some not so fun days on the app from the Isles community, overall, it's been a great decision, I think.
Cool. That's actually really interesting. Yeah, I've kind of I never really even personally, I never even used Twitter, but then the Isles community got me to be more interested in it.
You're welcome, Jack Dorsey. Endorsement over.
Yeah.
Although now I'm going to say that Twitter often is a wretched hive of scum and villainy, as Obi-Wan Kenobi once said. So there goes the endorsement. Sorry, Jack. Anyway, but
you almost had us, Jack. All right.
No, I think that's really interesting. I think what's the old phrase, absence makes the heart grow fonder, probably makes sense for your Islanders viewing habits going all the way up. And I'm sure it helps every fan that they're good. I know I watch famous Buffalo Sabres YouTuber Melody Martin, and she's like an absolute super fan. And when a team's that bad, you get so miserable that even like a team that you love, like you can barely watch. That's like, I'm like a centimeter away from that for the New York Jets. But luckily the Islanders have rewarded me for years of, watching subpar hockey. And like you, I grew up very close to the Coliseum and got to watch them a ton. So, I think they're always like, if you're going to tier rank my own teams that I root for, the Islanders are probably ahead of every other team. And every year the Jets drop because it hurts my soul. But why don't we talk about the 3 games?
Yeah, the last 3 games. So we played New Jersey twice and Boston, and they were kind of hard to watch, except for that New Jersey game. So why don't we start with Tom? What were your like how to not players? We can either go game by game or just players, whatever, and then we'll go to Sterling, and then we'll go to me.
All right. Generally unimpressed, but the at least the back 2 looked a little bit better. Like they looked like they were just running out the clock in the first Jersey game. Seemed like a lot of guys just trying not to get hurt. Not super interested in whether they win or lose, which, we were at the point where anything but the 4 seed was kind of a pipe dream anyway. So it might have been the right route in the long term. It just sucks watching your own team kind of, take a day off. But the last 2 games, I'm glad they played them as the last 2 games of the regular season because, over the last month, they haven't been very impressive. But the Jersey game, they had jump because last game of the Coliseum in the regular season, I'm sure that was a big part of it. And, obviously part of it is that Jersey's not very good too. And the Boston game, there were a bunch of things that I was scared by. The fact that we got outshot by like 20 shots. Varley getting pulled, but that seems like it was precautionary because it seems like he's good for game 1. So
yeah, was there any word on that? Like that exactly what happened?
Yeah, it was. I think Barry said it was like a very, very mild strain, and that if it were a playoff game, he would have just kept playing. So that's good from Barry. And I think it was also good for Sorokin. I think I said in the recap video, like, hypothetically, at that moment, we didn't know that Varley was okay. So you kind of had to start thinking, all right, what if Sorokin's the goalie? And start rationalizing. Yeah, that's fine. But actually, like I was saying, if you're a fan that kind of checked out the last few weeks, and I'm not saying that like derisively, but like if you're a fan that like is now convinced they're sitting ducks in round 1, if Sorokin in that scenario, Sorokin played, that would be a good thing because you would want him to get some playoff experience. If you think we're going to win, if you think we can win, you would probably want Varley in because experience. But I got off topic. When does that not happen? Not player. This week I felt like was pretty tough. I'll give the hot player to Bo and Bailey.
Okay.
I feel like I've picked on Bailey a lot, so I want to give Bailey the credit where I feel like it's deserved. He looks like he's getting re-engaged at the exact right time. Like this is it. This is the right time to get hot. And I'd give it to the whole second line, and I will. I forgot Nelson scored a couple goals, so I may as well throw him in there. So second line is hot going into the playoffs. That is good because we saw how that goes last year pretty well.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Leo, and it's like an easy target, but
he had that good play that he made to get Barzal.
Sure,
give Barzal a breakaway. He
had 2 assists in that 5-1 win, so that was probably his best game of the year, Leo. So it's harsh, but the penalties he took against Boston,
that's fair,
were a little bit tough, from a winning the game perspective, because we gave up a goal like 2 seconds into the power play. And look, it was Taylor Hall who continues to make me eat crap.
Wait, wasn't Taylor Hall the guy that also scored an OT and
Yeah,
one bust
this
in the game.
is not looking good. Every time I think back to the one critique I had of the Palmieri trade was I just hear it like an echo. Like I start to flashback. And
Right.
Oh man, if the only thing bad you could say about this Palmieri trade is they could have aimed higher for like Taylor Hall. And then I, decided to go off on Taylor Hall in that one podcast episode.
Yeah, I almost cut it out.
You reined me in. You did a good job. You reined me in. But it was too late. I had already put my both feet in my mouth.
Yeah. But all right, I think that's reasonable. So Sterling, what do you think about the games in general and any hot or not players?
Yeah, I'm just gonna start with saying for not, I really don't know if I could say anyone. I mean, given the circumstances of they didn't really have much to play for, given they were basically locked into fourth. I don't know. We'll just see what happens in the first round, and maybe we could look back on the past few games and see if they were symbolic of what's to come. Hopefully not. But I guess there were some good individual performances here and there for hot players. I gotta say, Palmieri getting his first goal in a while hopefully is something good to come. Like you said, Leo Komarov getting 2 assists in one game. That's a rarity. That's something to note. Although, like you said, not a great game against Boston. I do have to add, I keep seeing the Jack Edwards call of that play around Twitter, and I've really looked at it. It wasn't great, but maybe a bit of an overreaction from him.
Yeah.
Other than that, Bailey, he's gotten a couple of points. That's nice to see. I think it's been a couple of weeks now. He seems to be getting more and more consistent, which is looking good heading into the playoffs. And the last thing I'll say is the goaltending, especially in Boston when Varlamov went down. Sorokin put up a really good performance in that third period. So if he has to play in the playoffs, I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. And you guys kind of stole the words out of my mouth. I was thinking the hot player I was going to give to the whole second line, like Tom did. But if I had to pick a specific player, I would say Nelson. I'm on record as Ross Johnston being my favorite player, and he hasn't played as much this year. So it's kind of hard for me to get behind him as much. And so I think Nelson's actually my new favorite player, because he's
friendship with Ross ended. Your friendship with Brock started.
Yeah, exactly. I went from the guy that's not playing anymore to the top goal scorer on the team. And I don't know what it is about Nelson. I just like his attitude. It's like very stoic, and and he has the wrist, like the amazing wrist shot. So he got the 2 goal. I think it was 2 goals this week, right? I think it was.
Yep, both in the second Jersey game, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. And the not player, I wasn't going to say Komarov. I was actually going to compliment Komarov, but I totally forgot about that. Just the stupid penalty in the Boston game where he jabbed. Was it Pastrnak?
Yeah, Pastrnak.
Yeah, and that I just couldn't believe that. For a multitude of reasons. Why would he do that? Did he really hurt Pastrnak that badly? I don't know.
No.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I do have to say, I think the remedy for the first line is not Zajac, is not Palmieri. It is Barzal, Komarov, and Eberle. I think that is the best first line we've seen since Lee has been out. As hard as that is to admit, that's what I think.
I would put Lee back out there with the injury.
Lee with a broken knee or whatever. He's better than Komarov.
Give him like a walker.
Yeah. Oh man, that is quite the insult. But
that's not an insult
to Komarov.
Okay, yes, that is an insult to Komarov. That's fair. And like you guys, I'm glad you guys pointed out that he had that second game against Jersey where he was pretty good. That makes me feel a little bit better. About and generally, I said to my brother, and this is going to sound insulting as well, but I said, oh wow, he hasn't embarrassed us in a while. And then he had the play against Boston, which I think, like Sterling said, And I said in the recap video for that game, I was like, okay, both things can be true. That's a stupid penalty, and that's a dive. That man is on the Swiss diving team. But yeah, I think both is probably true there. I think Pasta, the part for me was like kicking the legs. Like that was, hey, I'm a soccer player. I've done that. I got a kid kicked out of a game that barely made any contact with me, but because I'm the goalie, it's like hitting the quarterback in football. Personal foul. Get him out of here. So I'm not above it.
So Zajac and Palmieri, their performance in the last 3 games was like, meh. Palmieri had the 1 goal, the crashing into Blackwood goal, which I do really wonder if he felt bad about or not. But like, is the difference for them going to be in the playoffs? Are they going to turn it on? Is there going to be a difference for them in the playoffs? Because they've both had a few chances, like throughout the games that they've played. Like they've all had, like they've each had a number of chances that just didn't convert, So what do you guys think is going to be? Is it going to be any different in the playoffs? Do you think they're going to convert on those chances, playing harder, whatever,
I don't think you're going to see Zajac once. You might see him once. If somebody gets hurt, you'll see Zajac. But like, I think, I'm looking at our lines on Daily Faceoff right now. And I think your point about Palmieri is fair. I think Palmieri probably looked the best he's looked as an Islander, as small a sentence as that is. But like the last few games, he looked more engaged. He was playing really angry in that Devils game. He was hitting people. He ran over his own former goalie like 3 times.
Yeah.
And so I think I actually am like kind of, excited for the prospects of him in the playoffs. Everybody's kind of talking about Pajot from last year, where Pajot in the 7 games that he played, that we didn't win any before the pandemic. But I think, obviously, as with every comparison last year to this year, we don't have a pandemic going into the play. Well, we still do, but like we're not going to have 4 months off going in. So, there's not as much time to get acquainted. But like James said, having Palmieri play probably his 2 best games as an Islander right into the playoffs is a good thing. And that's all I have.
What do you think, Sterling?
Like everyone else, I have not been impressed by either of them since getting traded. But as an optimist, I will say, going into the playoffs, he's going to regrow that beard. Maybe that's what he's been missing. Yeah,
he feels uncovered.
I bring this up every time we talk, but you were the one that pointed out that Bailey, when he had the tinted glass, when he had the tinted visor, he played better, and you're totally right. Lee played
that's when he's elite.
Exactly. So maybe it's just these small things. It could be he's getting used to the baby face. He needs to grow his beard back. I'm with it. I'm 100% with it.
The players are so superstitious.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some players that were like very superstitious about shaving. Not during the playoffs. But anyway, all right. So that kind of segues us into the first playoff matchup against Pittsburgh. What do you guys take it away? What do you guys think is going to happen? I have no clue.
Last year I was really optimistic, and I think when I did my bracket, I even had the Islanders. I had the Islanders beating Florida. I was like, we should beat. And then after that, it was kind of like, if we win any of them, I'll be happy. But going into the Capitals series specifically, I was really optimistic because like the Capitals weren't the most convincing team in the league last year. And I think the Capitals are way more convincing this year as a team that like fired their coach. I thought it would take time for them to like get acquainted. Nope. But we'll talk about the Caps another time. But I can't consider the Islanders the favorite by any stretch. And I think most Islander fans would probably agree that they go in as the underdogs for sure. But I think it's fair to say that it's like in 2019, it's like kind of similar where, it's a little bit different where the Islanders are now a few years into being good. And so it's a little bit less of like, oh, it's the Islanders, but there's still a little bit of, oh, it's the Islanders. They don't have the scoring punch. And it'll be interesting to see. The big worry for me this year is going through the list of the 8 games against Pittsburgh where we went 2-6. It wasn't just like when we play a tight game where it's low scoring, we win, and we lose blowouts. Let's just play that one type of game. Pittsburgh beat us a couple times, like 2-1, 2-0. And so that worries me because Pittsburgh also beat us a few times by a lot. So Pittsburgh can beat us in multiple ways. And it's going to require a 2019-like performance defensively and in goal, where Robin Lehner was awesome in that series, to shut down Crosby. But you could probably argue this year Pittsburgh is deeper than it was in 2019. So my preliminary belief is that we're probably going to lose a fairly hard-fought series, kind of like in 6. But I've been surprised before by this team. I didn't expect them to sweep Pittsburgh by any means in 2019. I think I picked the Islanders in 7 that year. And even then, I think I did a coin flip. I was like, it's definitely going 7. Let me flip a coin. Goes to a sweep. So it shows that I still have much to learn. Sterling, what do you think?
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever been more worried heading into the playoffs. I mean, part of that is, right, the past 2 seasons have definitely raised my expectations. It's no longer, let's just win around.
Yeah.
Now it's trying to go far. There's something that's telling me, because they still have sort of an underdog mentality, like look at Money Puck, all these other stats accounts saying the Pens will have a great chance of beating them. There's something that's telling me they might surprise everyone again. Don't know what it is. It's just like last year. I definitely didn't predict Josh Bailey to have an amazing playoff.
Yeah.
There just might be some player who does something like that, or the team just suddenly raises their game. It's definitely, I mean, we don't know. Like
it happened with Matt Martin last year too.
It did happen with Matt Martin. He became amazing. I think more than 2019, it's not going to be a sweep for the Islanders. If they're going to pull it off, it has to go 6 or 7.
Yeah, this would be even more shocking for us to sweep if we swept this series,
Yeah.
which I am not even considering at all.
All right, so here's what I think is happening. Pittsburgh thinks they have it easy.
Oh,
Pittsburgh's like, oh man, we beat these guys 6 out of 8 times. Like, they're going to go to sleep in this series. It's going to be a sweep for the Islanders. That's what's going to happen. No,
clip that.
Yeah. If I'm right though, it would be amazing. But no, I do think, I think it's gonna be a hard fought series for the Islanders, regardless. Like that's all. I'm obviously hopeful that we win, or that the Islanders win. But it would be amazing if it was just like a great series and it went to 7 and something like that. But this might sound weird. So last year when the Islanders were playing the Flyers in the first round, or was that second round? That was second.
It
round.
was the second. It was our third series, but it's considered the second round.
Yeah, because we were playing the Panthers for the
Play-in.
What was it, the play-ins? What do they call that? But the play-ons? No, what do they call that? The
play-ins.
No. Didn't they actually call it something else, like the
qualifying?
Oh, the qualifiers.
Yeah, yes. That's the word I was looking for. So when we played the Flyers, that went to game 7. But I mean, I was pretty confident the Islanders were going the whole time, even though, because when they battled back from it was 3-1.
Yeah, and we lost those 2 games in OT. We were like, just one goal.
I was pretty sure that we were gonna win it. It's possible. It's very possible the Islanders wouldn't have, but I was pretty hopeful that they were going to. And so I have a feeling that's what we might end up seeing, but in Pittsburgh's favor. So it's like the Islanders might be able to push it to 6 or 7 games, but it's not going to be too surprising in the end if Pittsburgh wins. So
I think considering how they've played over the last month, I think that's the thing that most Islander fans are most distressed about is I think I was talking in a big group chat about how I think they've only in the last like month beaten 2 different teams or 3 different teams. It's like the Rangers, who they beat like 3 times, Jersey the 1 time, and like the Flyers. So they haven't beaten a playoff team in like 2 months. It's a little bit scary when you think of it like that. But like, I'm trying to think of the last playoff team they beat. It was probably Washington whenever we beat them last. And that is a while ago now. So I that's why this Boston game I'm actually pretty happy about. They needed a game where they kind of got their butts handed to them a little bit, and they needed a game that was like physical and filled with hate, like a playoff game. Yeah, I sound like freaking Palpatine. Yeah. But yeah, they needed a game like that because I feel like they had been coasting for a while.
Yeah, I would agree.
And you know, it like the worrying thing about playing an easy schedule going into the playoffs, 2 against Buffalo, 2 against Jersey, is they kind of like, you know, they were like, we're gonna probably be the 4 seed. May as well not get hurt. And just like, you know, playing very, very carefully. And, you know, that Boston game hopefully is the wake-up call they need. For a bunch of guys, I think it was, even though the overall picture was, oh, wow, we got massively outshot and definitely shouldn't have even gotten this game to OT. But we did get a goalie pull in a tie game, which I love. Thank God. That never happens. And, you know, like that was fun. But yeah, that could be a wake-up call for like Palmieri, who's starting to play better, for the second line, who's starting to get it together. For Leo in his instigator role, not as much in the scoring role in the Boston game. But I don't know. There's enough at the very least, and maybe we're grasping at straws just to feel good about something, but like there's something there and Wahlstrom gets his first goal in forever. There's a few things that you look at and you're like, okay, all right, those are things.
Did Tom pause for you, Sterling?
Yes.
Wow, that was so sudden. It's like, what the heck?
Such a good point. Zoom couldn't take it.
All right.
You're back.
Sorry. That
okay.
So like my computer started to sound like it was going to explode. Which is always good.
Okay, so you were in the middle of saying you're grasping at straws for reasons that the Islanders might win.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. You said something about, I think the last word you said, like it said like it cut off perfectly. You're like, it's the thing about, and I don't remember what you're exactly the sentence though.
I guess. Well, the thing about the team he fits in naturally is that to me it needed the wake-up call of the Boston game, like I was saying. But even then, I think Pittsburgh is way deeper than it was in 2019. They brought in Jeff Carter. I laughed when they brought in Jeff Carter because he's like 36, and I was like, come on, we got Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac, and he has completely outplayed them. He had a 4-goal game before the season was done. And actually kind of related to the Panthers in a prelude to that, they acquired Mike Matheson, and he's not been a part of their success. He's been Mike Matheson. As Islander fans, we saw him last year in ending Johnny Boychuk's career and stapling Matt Barzal to the boards on an occasion. And now he's in Pittsburgh kind of doing the same stuff, and we all still hate him for it. And the Panthers did a really good job in that trade of getting Hornquist and getting rid of Matheson. Anyway, the Penguins are deeper than they were last time. I bet you we have the edge in goal. Defensively, I'd say we have the edge. Scoring, the Penguins have the edge. So it's you could make the case for the Islanders to win the series for sure. I will not. I tend to think they're not fully pulled together at the right time. But, you know, this year we have a week off in between the last playoff game and the first playoff game and when the last regular season game was played. So they get like 3 practices in to kind of get up to speed a little bit. So that's something.
I'm gonna say if there's one thing that might we might be overlooking is Pittsburgh's goaltending. I get it, Jari went to the All-Star game and whatever, but at points he has not been very great. I mean, their backup DeSmith isn't, he might not even be the backup, although we have a hard time against like random third goalies.
They should play their backup every game.
Yeah.
I think on Twitter, there was a guy that pointed out that their third string goalie, Max Legacy, has played one game this year and had a shutout. We should be terrified of him in the playoffs. The Penguins should absolutely start him in all games of this series.
Yeah, he better only stay with that one game this season. But if Jari is the starter, I think that might be something that could be to the Islanders' benefit.
Yeah. So one more thing I want to ask before we move on to the Florida v Tampa series, which we want to talk about, is if you guys could have picked any of the other playoff teams in our division to play, would you have picked somebody else? Would it have mattered? What do you think?
Buffalo, boom.
Damn, you galaxy brained it. No, obviously any of the other playoff teams.
I think for me, for a while, it was between Washington and Pittsburgh. I think I was always leaning on Pittsburgh. I mean, one of the reasons for that is just another random fact. The last season at the Coliseum in 2015, we got eliminated in the first round by the Capitals. So I didn't want that to happen again. Also, we just got destroyed by the Capitals in a 3-game set. So that was still fresh. I mean, I really have no great reason for justifying one team over the other, but Pittsburgh was kind of the one that I think I'd rather play.
Yeah, I think most Islander fans are probably in that boat of like, well, we suck against both, so I guess we'll play whoever we play. But yeah, I was actually at Game 7 of that 2015 series for the Capitals because I went to college in Baltimore, and so I was only an hour away from the arena. I was able to get to Game 1 where Ryan Strome and Brock Nelson stole the show. And then Game 7 where Franz Nielsen scored one of the worst playoff goals I've ever seen. And that was the only offense we mustered in a game where we got like 10 shots on goal. So yes, that's a good point, Sterling. I do not want the Capitals to shut down the Coliseum twice. So that is nice. So if we lose to Pittsburgh, Islander fans can at least fall back on it wasn't the same team that shut the arena down twice. And also, let's pick our arena, because I hate losing a playoff series and then having the extra salt be, oh, we closed your arena. That hurts. So that is a lot of fodder for opposing teams. Opposing teams fans. I'm thinking from Twitter, of course, perspective, not on the ice. Who cares about that? But I would say, I guess, like you said, the Penguins, maybe it's being overlooked a little bit because they played a lot better in the second half, but the first half of the season, the Penguins' goaltending was like real bad. Or maybe unfair to say the first half, like the first quarter, but it was bad. So you never know. It could go back to that. Casey DeSmith actually oddly has better stats than Tristan Jarry. So it's weird. Both teams in this series, if things go bad for them, both teams have like a capable backup that they're probably okay with going to. So this could be a 4-goalie series. We could see 4 goalies appear in this series. That could be cool, but let's hope not.
Because I'm looking at their roster right now. They have 5 goalies in the system. Yeah,
I think now with the taxi squad not being a thing for the playoffs, but you can call up more players just like on standby as like alternates. There's going to be a lot of like random players. Like the Islanders have called up like Bodie Wild, who's a prospect for us, who's not played in the NHL yet. There's a lot of guys from the AHL since Bridgeport's done. They never play in the playoffs, so they don't have to worry about it. They're coming up. I would not expect any of them to play, but I can't say it's impossible. I think Scott Mayfield debuted in that 2015 Capitals series. So sometimes you get thrown into the fire right off the bat. And honestly, at this point, it hasn't been talked about. But if you gave me the option of Samuel Bolduc or Braden Coburn, I might take Samuel no NHL games Bolduc, because Braden Coburn is just a penalty committing machine, and we need to not do that in this playoff series. Special teams, we're good on the penalty kill. Like, that's awesome. Don't want to tempt fate against a really good Pittsburgh power play, so you don't want to just like go handing out penalties. But I think for the Islanders to win, the formula is games that don't get bogged down. So you just like get in and out, quick games where, you know, you're able to forward check and you're providing, you know, friction in the neutral zone to keep Pittsburgh from just walking in, because if you let that happen, we're not going to make it very far.
Yeah, I agree. We should move on.
So yeah, I got off topic again, but I would agree that I think the Capitals, though they have some injuries, I would be a little bit worried about their depth, because they just won a bunch of games with no Ovi, with no Kuznetsov, with no goalies. Like, so they scare me just as much.
Empty net the whole game.
But the interesting thing is, you know, if the Islanders win and the Bruins win, I wouldn't be incredibly shocked. The Islanders and Bruins probably have the superior goaltending in both of those series. And a lot of times in the playoffs, I've seen it just come down to that. Nashville swept Chicago a few years ago because Pecorine just decided, I win. So,
yeah. You know what, Tom, I agree. Let's move on. So
I spoke enough for two people.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the Panthers v Lightning matchup, the Florida v Florida matchup. I don't know anything about this. So Sterling, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I mean, these two teams had a supposed rivalry throughout their history. It's never meant anything. And this is the first time they're playing in a playoff series. We look at some of the more recent games. In fact, this past weekend, the Panthers played the Lightning twice, and they dominated both games, and that won them home ice. And I think, honestly, the Panthers have a much better shot of winning the series than lots of people are giving them. Just from the past two games, their offense has looked great. Granted, Tampa's getting Stamkos and Kucherov back, but we don't know if they're going to be how they usually are right away. I mean, the goaltending, Bobrovsky finally looks all right, and Drieger has been great, like Panthers fans have known him to be for his short 2-year career. And Vasilevsky, on the other hand, has not had a great 2 games. So I do think the Panthers have a pretty good chance of taking the series. Although, once again, you can't underestimate the Lightning. They are the Stanley Cup champions. For my prediction, I might say Panthers in 6.
Okay.
Right.
I'm inclined. I'm looking at some of the stats right now. And so, yeah, the Panthers are on a 6-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Are they done with? They're done with games, right?
Yeah.
They have,
they just played their 56th.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the Tampa's on a 3-game losing streak. So,
and 2 of those are from the Panthers.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Everybody's played 56. Okay, cool.
You know, for playoff series this year, I was very interested in head-to-head stats because, you know, in this year, more than any other year, they're like more relevant than ever because we only played a certain amount of teams and you got to know a team really well. So I think
said that right after we talked about the Islanders versus Penguins, dude. Come on, bro. Can't believe you just said that.
but I have the numbers. Like, I didn't have time to. Yeah,
he has the numbers, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't have the time because I thought of this kind of late in the day. But I want to do this for the Islanders series as well. I'll probably do it for the video. But I went through each individual Florida Tampa game, and Florida went 5-2-1. Very impressive. So that's the first thing. I think I would agree with Sterling. A lot of people are kind of. I'm kind of shocked by the amount of people that are just kind of offhand, like, Tampa, like for their prediction, like you ask them, like, what do you think? And they're kind of just like, I'm just going to stick with Tampa. And I guess that's understandable from, you know, they just won the Stanley Cup. They are, you know, they deserve the amount of respect they get from like, they're good in like every facet of the game. You could argue that they have maybe the best goaltending and the best offense in the league and really good defense. So it's tough there. But the Panthers outscored them 31-24 in the 8-game series, which is pretty good. The Panthers did that while actually not having as good a power play as Tampa head-to-head. So Tampa went 5 of 29 and Florida went 5 of 32. It's pretty close percentage-wise. It's only a 2-point difference. But this series was fairly tight, and the Panthers found ways to win some tight games. They also blew out Tampa a couple of times. First time in the year, they beat them 5-2 on February 11th. Then they lost 6-1. So it was kind of back and forth to start. Then the Panthers win 6-4. Then Tampa wins 5-3. So it was super back and forth. And these are the most recent games, so they probably hold a little bit more sway. You have April 15th, Panthers lose 3-2 in OT. Good game. Then 3 straight Panther wins to finish out the season series. 2 of the last 3 were, of course, at the very end of the season. And one of them was a 5-3 win on the 17th. I think that the Panthers, I kind of want to pick the Panthers because you don't know how Kucherov is going to react. He hasn't played a game. I don't like, even if he is like fully healthy, right? And they were just holding him out for precautionary reasons and cap reasons because they're so close to the cap. You can't, I know he's one of the best in the world, but it's so difficult to just walk back on the ice and be like, oh, I'm the best again. So I think the Panthers will be keying up on him as well. And then Stamkos, first of all, will he stay healthy? I think it happened maybe in last year's playoffs that he was hurt. He came back. He played 1 shift. He got hurt again. So like when he comes back, that doesn't necessarily mean he's back for the whole series even. And then you add in, I know the last 2 games are a little bit tough to judge because, end of the season, kind of like the Islanders, when the seeding is set, you kind of like just make sure you're healthy. But Tampa kind of made a point of making those 2 games physical. Patrick Maroon had a quote saying how he wanted the Panthers to go into the playoff series going, holy blank, we're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think Florida brought it to them, not just on the scoreboard, which they outscored Tampa 9-1 over the 2-game stretch, but like Radko Gudas, he's going to be a problem for the tough guys of Florida, of Tampa. We saw it as Islander fans last year. Guys like Barclay Goodrow with the slash on Nelson's neck. Patrick Maroon is a physical player, and the Islanders had the personnel to kind of stand up to it. Radko Gudas can do more than stand up to it. Radko Gudas can like ragdoll these guys. So I think Florida, the amount of fight that I've seen out of Florida, and for them to kind of get me to go from thinking they were frauds kind of halfway through the year to like kind of being on their bandwagon now. I think this is going 7. I don't know which way yet. I might hold off a prediction until like my official video, but I am so excited for this series. You can probably tell, but I do want to ask Sterling, because I haven't been watching all of the Panthers this year, who starts game 1 in goal for the Panthers? Because Drescher, like you said, had a pretty good year.
Yeah. From a skill perspective alone, I really don't see why you wouldn't start Drieger. He is just, even the past 2 years as a whole, he's been levels better than Bobrovsky. The sad thing is Bobrovsky has one of the worst contracts in the league. I don't really know how great it is for him to not even play a playoff game. So I do think because he's been all right as of late, you'll probably see him starting. But I think Coach Q has more trust in Drieger now that he's played a lot more games. I think he can easily switch to him in maybe games 2 or 3. But I do think Bobrovsky is going to start.
Because that's going to be an interesting one, because like statistically, I think I have it here. Drescher, I'm never really quite sure on how to pronounce it, but I think it is Drescher.
I mean,
Dreger?
I just say like Dreger because that's how
Dreger.
the play-by-play guy
Mhm.
calls it here.
So his season stats, he's got a 927. That is real good. And he's got 3 shutouts, very impressive. 14, 6,
Not
and
as
3.
impressive as Varlamov. Just
Yeah.
Sure.
But really, really impressive. And then Bobrovsky, like, at the beginning of the year, it was another like, oh my God, when is he just done? And I think to his credit, he scraped his save percentage back up to 906. So that's respectable. Goals against of 291. He played more games. It's tough. That's a tough decision. I would, if I were a Panthers fan, I'd probably be like where I am with the Islanders, where you have an experienced coach in Coach Q, where I'm just like, whatever he says, I think I trust it. But I do think, if Bobrovsky struggles even one game in, it might be a quick leash depending on how the series is going. But I also wanted to highlight that the Panthers, despite everybody talking about how well Tampa, how good they are offensively, obviously, the Panthers were better in scoring this year. The Panthers had 3.36 goals per game to Tampa's 3.21. Tampa was a smidge better defensively, and if it comes down to special teams, that's where I'll worry for the Panthers, because Tampa Bay, both of their power plays are elite. They're both above 20%, but Tampa Bay's penalty kill is 84%, and Florida's is like just under 80. So that's something I'm watching for. And that's something that might get me to pick Tampa in 7, where it's like, if these are going to be physical games, we're probably going to have a lot of penalties. And if it comes down to special teams, Tampa might have a slight edge. But I don't want to keep doubting Florida, because, I was doing it for half the year and they're just so much fun. Like they lost Dadonov and they lost Mike Hoffman, who are 2 30-goal scorers. And everybody was, myself included, we were like, how are they going to replace that? And they were like, hey, you ever hear of Mackenzie Weegar, who I know is a defenseman, but had 36 points in his last 2 years? Prior to that, he had 33. So that's an amazing catapult. And then offensively, Frank Vetrano has 18 goals. Wenberg had a career resurgence. Owen Tippett, the rookie, has 18 points. Huberdeau is Huberdeau. Barkov is Barkov. I love Duclair. I wanted the Islanders to sign Duclair. He's been pretty good. Carter Verhaeghe, though, is the one. Man, he was in the Islanders freaking system a few years ago. He had 36 points this year. It's a deep team, and I don't know if people realize how deep it is.
Not to mention they just traded for Sam Bennett, who I was a critic of that trade, but oh my goodness, he's been unbelievable. I do remember from an Islanders broadcast early in the year, Butch said something like, if you add the penalty kill percentage and the power play percentage, you need to be over 100 if you're a really good team. And so Tampa definitely seems like they have a higher number significantly than Florida. So for the Panthers, they definitely are going to want to be careful and try to stay away from the penalty box. But if they can do that, I think they have a really good shot.
Yeah. And of course, with Coach Q, they have the guidance there. I'm sure they have the belief based on the last 2 games that I can't really say enough about how excited I am for the series, because it's that perfect. It's an underdog versus a Goliath, but it's way closer than people would give her credit for. And this Florida team has really won me over throughout the year, and I'm really hoping, because I love Barkov and Huberdeau have been doing this for years without people really realizing, and now people are like, oh my God, they're so good, and it's like they've been this good. It's just now that the Panthers are a little bit more in the spotlight, people are giving them a little more credit, but I'm afraid to make a prediction. I'm going to keep it for the video. I'm holding off on a prediction until the very last minute, because this is, I think, the best series of the first round for me.
Yeah. And for those of you that think that Tom is doing this because he, like wants to save face or something. We went back and forth last year for the Hurricane and Rangers series.
Oh yeah.
And man, like you were texting, you're like, "Oh, I'm switching the video again." Like, like you were so back and forth, and it ended up being
It was a sweep.
Yeah, it was a sweep by the Canes. Or what? Right? It was a sweep by the Canes.
It was a sweep by the Canes, and I was back and forth. I think I was like, dude, this is going 5 for sure.
Yeah.
And I just don't know which way to go. And I filmed one version of the video where I picked the Rangers, and then I picked the Canes originally, and then James was like, "All right, cool, upload it," and I was like, "No," and you were like, "What?" I was like, "I'm filming it again."
I forgot what it was that made you like reconsider, but obviously it ended up not.
It was the freaking season series. The
Oh,
Rangers had
right.
swept the season series, so that immediately this year my first reaction was, all right, so don't make an ass of yourself again, don't look at the seaman series. But this year the season series matters more than it has, because they're the only teams they played. So man,
well, anyway,
every year I try to find a different criteria to justify my insane predictions.
Let's segue into the final piece of this episode.
I thought you were going to say, let's relax.
Tom, you're here right now. We need to come down to here. No, so what?
Can't make this too exciting.
What are your cup? Yeah, we might get too many views on this video. What are your cup favorites? Okay. So I guess like who do you see in the semifinals and the finals? Why don't we start with Sterling?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds too easy, but it's hard to not like Vegas right now. I've been watching a couple of their games as of late, because why not? They look so good in all areas. They've got the goaltending and obviously offensive power. I can't see them just suddenly not playing well. So I think they'll definitely make a deep run. Something in the eastern side of the country, I guess. I did really like Carolina's chances of going far. But then they started to lose to Nashville, their first round opponent, and now I'm not so sure. I think, frankly, Nashville might actually have a shot, which is crazy because, at least as an Islanders fan, we cannot beat Carolina. I mean, going back to that 2019 series. So I'm not so sure about them anymore. In the North, I'm really not too sure. I mean, I don't think Toronto... I've been watching a lot of the Oilers this season, and obviously McDavid's unbelievable. I just don't think they have the whole team, the depth of the team to go that far. So I don't really know anyone from the North. I think Vegas is going to be my team this year.
Yeah, right. I think that's a good one. I mean, they have just like, the Avalanche are an incredible team, and Vegas on a few occasions has like brought them down to earth, and there's not a lot of teams in the league that can do that. I think for me, I'm probably not going to deviate from you. I think in the West, Vegas, not only do I think they have what it takes to win the whole thing, I think they have an easy first round series, which helps. I think if they can get done with the Blues like quickly, you get a lot of time to kind of, like having time in between series is interesting. Like the Islanders a few years ago when we swept Pittsburgh, then we got swept by a team that had just played 7 games in Carolina. So, you don't want too much rest. You want that just right amount of rest, it seems. That could be interesting, where I think Vegas has it in the first round. Like, I don't have much doubt whatsoever that they're going to beat St. Louis. But that second round opponent's going to be tough for Vegas, because that's going to be a bloodbath. The Avalanche and the Wild. That'll be a really fun. Whoever Vegas plays in that second round, I'm really anticipating that. But I would agree. Vegas is probably the favorites in the West. I would say in the North, it's like cake run. That's not the phrase. I would say I would be utterly shocked if Toronto doesn't win the North. And I think I'm higher on Toronto than I think a lot of people are. Obviously, their playoff history recently has been pretty bad, but I like Montreal just hasn't really shown me much recently to say they're going to upset the Leafs, and the Leafs have dominated them head to head this year. And then, and the second round, like you said, McDavid could clearly, he could work some magic. And I'm really excited for Matthews McDavid in a playoff series. Canada's going to explode.
Yeah.
But I do think the Leafs have a little bit more steady goaltending and a little bit better defense. But that I would think the Leafs are going to win the North. When it comes to the Central, if the Canes, this is going to sound weird because obviously as an Islander fan, I don't root for the Canes. But if they don't win, the North, the Central, they're dead to me because I keep picking them the last few years as my darling team where I'm like, these guys, I love how they're constructed. It's just a well-balanced team that, has some really good talent, but also has some really good role players. And yeah, if they let me down again, I will be very angry. I'll probably make a video making fun of them. And in our division, I think all 4 teams are super dangerous. If any of the teams, I would say whoever wins the East is going to be my favorite to win the Cup. So that's my answer. Pittsburgh? Yeah, whoever wins if you can make it out of that bloodbath in the East, if you're the team left standing at the end of the day in the East, God, I don't know who's going to beat you. I don't think Toronto's going to beat you. What Sterling said, I think it's completely fair to say, if they have to play when they play a non-Canadian team, I think Toronto's in trouble. And
the Canadian teams are too nice to each other. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I could very well see. I don't know. I guess we could definitely see Vegas or Colorado versus whoever wins the East is probably going to be the Cup. What a great prediction for me. I just said 6 different teams. I covered all my bases, but to nail it down a little bit, I'm going to say Vegas is the favorite from that side of the bracket. And this side of the bracket, I'm going to give it to Boston.
Really?
Yeah, I think Boston getting hot at the right time.
That makes sense.
Their goaltending, they have 3 or 4 different goalies that they feel comfortable playing. And it feels like their top line is going in playing well. Their depth finally woke up halfway through the year, and they defend really well. So they check off a lot of boxes.
All right. So that perfectly segues us into putting Sterling on the spot. We're going to have you give your lightning, well, not the team, your playoff bracket in 60 seconds. It's their favorite segment, everybody's favorite segment. We all do this segment all the time.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to make them do 60 seconds.
No, it's got to be 60 seconds. It's got to be consistent. So
all right, does he have the bracket?
I sent you the picture. I have it up on screen so everybody could. That's all our loyal viewers can see it on screen as well. So
I should mention one thing before we do that.
What's up?
Only because it's really important. Once each team wins their respective division, it's reseeded. So we could get any combination of cups. So everybody's bracket's going to look normal for the first 2 rounds when they're playing in division, and then everybody's bracket's going to be different after that because records.
Yeah. So we'll just do the best we can.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the picture, we have the West on the top left. So we'll start there and then just kind of go counterclockwise. So then we'll go to the North and then to the Central and then to the East. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So whenever you're ready. Oh wait, I need a timer. Hang on a second.
Yeah. All right.
Very important that we have this timer. You also, to make it slightly more challenging, if you can give a very, very brief, a 1 or 2 word explanation, you're
okay.
Yeah. And also, if you could just do a quick math problem after every single one.
Yeah.
And then, okay. So I got the timer. This is actually gonna be really hard because I'm gonna try and keep this in frame, and I'm also gonna give a check mark. All right, are you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. St. Louis hasn't looked that great since winning the cup. I'll say Vegas in 5. Give them a game max. I think Colorado, Minnesota is going to be a hard-fought series. I think Colorado will come out winning in 7. Toronto, Montreal, I think Toronto is going to easily win. I'm a little hesitant about giving them a sweep, so I'll say 5. Edmonton, Winnipeg is going to be another tough one, but I think Edmonton has a significantly better chance than Winnipeg of winning. I'll say Edmonton in 6. I guess Central, Florida, Tampa, as I said earlier, Florida's been so good against Tampa as of late. I'll give it to them in 6. Carolina, Nashville. I think this is going to be my big upset of the playoffs. I think Nashville is going to come out with this one in 7 and surprise a lot of people. Washington, Boston. It would be really weird to see Washington lose in the first round again, but I think Boston is looking good as of late. I think they could take it in 6. Pittsburgh Islanders. It would be great to see the Islanders win a series at the Coliseum one more time. I don't know if they have it, though. I'll give it to Pittsburgh in 7 with the home ice advantage. Are we continuing to the second round?
Oh, we are, but you're already
Okay.
over time. You already lost,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's okay. We'll continue. We'll continue.
Sure.
We'll continue. I'm still gonna time because why not? I'm still
Okay,
gonna
yeah.
timer. All right.
He's a ball buster, this guy.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. And go.
Vegas, Colorado. I don't know. Something's telling me Colorado's not going to go all the way this year, even though they were the favorites at the beginning. I'll say Vegas could take this one in 6. Then Toronto, Edmonton. Like I said, Edmonton looks great, but they aren't as deep as Toronto. I'm going to say Toronto in 6. And as you can tell, I like my 6-game series. Florida versus Nashville. I do think if Nashville made it this far, I don't know how they could keep up with the Panthers. I think Florida gets it in 5. And then Pittsburgh versus Boston. I think Pittsburgh, if they go 7 games versus the Islanders and Boston goes quicker against Washington, I think the Boston Bruins have a much better chance. I'll say they could get it in 5. I was considering 6, but we can't do it too many times. And then let's see. This is the weird reseeding. So we have Vegas, Toronto, Florida, and Boston. I don't know where they are across the league. So I don't know.
Just let's guess.
I think,
Vegas versus Toronto.
I think Vegas, since they're going to finish first in the league, would play the lowest seed possible, which would be Boston.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I really have no reason for either team of winning this one. We'll just say Vegas is going to win it in 7 because I picked a random number and partially because I said they were going to win the cup. And then Toronto versus Florida. Yeah, I don't know how well Toronto is going to do outside the Canadian division. I'll say Florida gets it in 6. And then Vegas versus the Panthers in the finals. It's so great that Florida made it to the finals, but I think they're getting crushed. I'd say Vegas wins it in 5. And that is my Stanley Cup champion.
That's
okay.
I also screwed it up because I am at the league standings right now, and Vegas would play Boston.
Wow.
Because I forgot how high up Florida finished. Florida finished the season as they're, I guess, because Colorado still has 2 games, they could finish lower, but they're the 3rd best team in the league right now, Florida. So as of right now, and there are still games to be played, it would be Vegas versus Boston and Florida versus. Oh no, that's exactly what we said. My bad.
Oh yeah, that is what we did.
Yeah.
So we got it right. All right,
okay.
that's
I erased
so
it for nothing.
cool.
Hang on, let me put it back. Vegas.
No, that's so cool. I think you found the route that it'll take if the Panthers are going to get to the cup. I think that's the route it's going to have to take because like the Canes against the Panthers, that would be pretty tough. That could go either way. But if you're right and Nashville upsets the Canes, first of all, they're dead to me. And second of all, Florida has a really good shot at winning that second series.
Yeah. I mean, I learned last year, I picked a lot of upsets to happen in the first round. didn't happen. So I had to cut back on a few of them this year. You gotta have one big one, and I think that's it for me.
So
yeah, every
Sterling,
year there's going to be one big one. It's just a matter of like sniffing
figuring
it out.
I actually think the big one's going to be the Islanders and Pittsburgh. But anyway,
Good.
Sterling, I don't think that. But if you got all of that in under 1 minute, which you weren't even close, not even close, like worse than Tom, not even close.
Oh, Jesus, James.
Yeah.
Admittedly, you offered a lot more detail than the challenge required. You would,
and also the
won.
challenge was unfair completely.
You would have.
You made him go through like 12 series.
You would have won this hockey puck that I bought from Tom at a garage sale for $1,
or this Rick DiPietro bobblehead from 2009.
You would have had the pick, but because you did it in 3 minutes and 34 seconds.
3 minutes.
There is a consolation.
You get Derek Jeter with a horrible. Derek Jeter with a horribly misshapen head.
It is Andrew Ladd's bobblehead.
Whoa!
I know. We're shipping it down. We're shipping it to you. This was
with the Billy Joel bobblehead as well.
No. That would have been second place. He got third. Yeah.
Funny enough, I've been to 2 games at the new Coliseum. One of them was against the Red Wings for that bobblehead.
Oh, nice.
Wait, what do you mean, like the for the bobblehead?
The Billy Joel.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's actually awesome.
That's a good bobblehead. I love that.
Almost as good as Andrew Ladd.
Yeah,
it's not as good as CJ Mosley as a Jedi.
All right, you got me there. You beat me on the bobblehead game there. Holy crap.
It was Star Wars Day. The Jets have to give you a reason to show up.
Okay. So, anything else that we were going to cover, guys? I think we got everything.
Yeah, I just want to apologize to Sterling for mixing up his playoff after I said it right the first time and then going, well, actually, it's this. Wait, that's correct. My bad. Understandable.
Yeah. Sterling, we like to say here that we're low budget, but we're also low quality. So
that's great.
We make up for it.
We make up for it with low quality. So thank you so much for joining, Sterling, and thank you for anybody that watched. And if you're interested in being part of the podcast, please reach out. We love having guests on. Sterling and Sarah and James Duffy, all throughout the magic of Isles Twitter, we've made these friendships, and which is really what it's all about. So
at the end of the day, we're all still friends. Yeah.
Well, I think more accurately, at the end of the day, we found out we were friends the whole time. And we just
turns out that was the thing.
Yeah, that was the thing. So, all right. Thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you for our playoff prediction videos and maybe some other things down the line. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just close the channel.
Maybe we'll just give up.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Tom, you have to wave. Yay. All right.